Welcome to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, somebody who was born and raised here in Las Vegas, founder and CEO of Intelligent Technical Solutions, a Las Vegas-based IT company. Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Jaime. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've been looking forward to this. I think until now we've had a handful of small business owners, and since I've known you, you've almost quadrupled the size of the company. So it's a great story about a Las Vegas-based company that's growing now to be a global company. We want to hear a little bit about that today. But let's start with your background. We always like to start by introducing, I'm sure a lot of people know you here in Vegas. You belong to the Las Vegas Executive Association and other things that we'll hear about today. But tell us about this whole, rare breed of people who are born and raised in Las Vegas, where you went to school, if you went away to college afterwards, how you started this business here in Vegas. But most importantly, what was it like to be here in Las Vegas in the 1980s?
Yeah, the 80s, I thought the 80s were great. I don't know if I had a choice in where I was born. So, happy to be born and raised in Las Vegas. It's been an amazing ride seeing the city grow from a very small town to really a metropolis, it feels like at this point. Back in the 80s, I remember we could drive anywhere in the city within 5 minutes. I mean, I grew up more on the east side, and as the city started growing more west, we could go from anywhere we wanted to, 5 minutes flat. It was simple. And now I think it took me 35 minutes to get here this morning.
Wow.
So it's been quite a ride to see the city grow.
You used to live by Valley High School, is that right?
Yeah, I live down the street, Valley High School, Vegas Valley Drive, really around like DI Mojave area.
There used to be there on Sahara and Easter, the Jim Marsh Mazda dealership. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
that's where I bought my first Mazda.
Oh yeah,
yeah, 1987.
Nice.
And where did you go to high school?
I went to Valley High School.
Oh, actually. You did? Okay.
Yeah, I went to Valley High School. So went to all the public schools. So Will Beckley, Joe Mackey. I don't know if you remember Joe Mackey, where they bust all the kids to the other side of town, the 6th grade center, and K.O. Knutson, and then eventually Valley High School. So yeah, it's been good.
What was it like to graduate from high school, and what decisions did you make after that? Did you go straight to work? Did you go to post-secondary skill acquisition?
Yeah, I had probably a different journey than most people did. So when I was 16, our family, we had a lot of issues going on in our family, or at least where I, at home for me. And I made now maybe difficult choice to move out of my house. So I moved out of the house when I was 16.
Wow.
And then kept going to Valley High School, graduated as well. But I really did the last 2.5 years of Valley living on my own.
Wow.
So ended up getting, a job. As soon as I got my first job when I was 16, I said, I'm out of here. I got to go do this myself. And just made it happen.
That's young. Did you have roommates, or were you able to afford an apartment on your own?
No, at first I moved out with a friend of mine that I knew at Valley, in our friends group. He and his mom had an apartment that literally was like across the street from Valley High School. And so when I first moved out, I moved in with him. So we were just sharing a room, and his mom was a single parent, and she was working at, I think, Caesar's Palace at the time. And so that was my place.
Wow. Yeah, my brother and I, from 87 to 90, we also lived in an apartment together. We moved out of my mom's house, and we were living where Boulevard Mall in Dumont, across from the Boulevard Mall.
Okay,
and,
sure.
Yeah, that area, I guess in the 70s, those condos were really nice, and people with money lived there. But by the time the 80s, 90s got there, that area started to get a little different around Dumont, and can't remember that other street. But so, Tom, what about when you were in high school at Valley? There's many names now, but back then there was 2 names in sports that were identified with Valley High School: Andre Agassi and Greg Maddux. Have they already made it through Valley?
Yeah, they did. I don't know exactly what years, but it was prior to me going. So I graduated in 1996. So I think they were, I don't know exactly, but they were definitely before me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so, Tom, you graduate from high school. Is that when you start ITS, or what happened after that?
No, so I had a litany of jobs. So my first job was down the street from Valley at McDonald's, and then after eating, Big Macs and every different, combination of hamburgers that I could make up at McDonald's, I got sick of it and quit, and then had a bunch of other jobs. So anything from the food industry to, graphic design to, like washing golf carts at Las Vegas Country Club, a bunch of different things. I knew at the time that I wanted to be in technology. And I remember begging my dad, who didn't live with us, my parents divorced when I was 2. I was begging him, hey, I need a car because I need to get to a job and make some real money. And, his sister died in a car accident when he was 16. So he wasn't really keen on the idea of giving me a car at the time. And he said, hey, anything else that you want, just let me know. And I said, well, my roommate, the one guy that I moved in with had a new computer. I remember it was a Tandy at the time.
No.
I said, hey, Mark's got this computer. I'd love to get a computer then because I want to be in technology. So he ended up buying me the computer, and Mark and I would just stay up day and night, just working on the computer, connecting to different, now there was no internet back then. And we had to like dial up and go, to BBS systems. Yeah. But we had a great time doing that, playing games and just messing around. And I knew I had to do something with technology. So as I kept trying to find a better and better job as I was moving along in my, I wouldn't even call it a career at that point, just life in general, I came across, I actually was working for a guy that did political phone calls. So I don't know if you remember back in 1996, where you get these phone calls, it's like, this is an official state of Nevada voters poll. Would you vote for this guy or that guy? Press 1 for this, 2 for that. It was this, really great salesman at the time, but he came up with this concept and he was running these automatic dialer systems out of his apartment behind the Stratosphere.
Wow.
And he needed help. And I ended up volunteering for the Ensign campaign when I was in high school because I was just trying to find anything to do. And I didn't know really kind of what I wanted to do. And they realized that I was good with computers. I'd fix all their stuff. And then when this other guy had issues with the dialing systems, they reached out to, they were working together at the time. So this guy was having issues with the dialing systems. He said, hey, I need computer help. And the campaign manager of Ensign's campaign said, hey, I got this kid, he's in high school. Maybe he can come over and look at it. So I went over there, fixed all the stuff. And he's like, I want to give you a job. So I worked under that I don't know what you'd call it, I guess political phone call, campaign prospecting, marketing campaigns, right? Yeah. And it's the more I did that, like that little business that he had grew significantly during 1996. At the end of the campaign, he basically was like, "Well, there's no more business. Sorry, you got to go somewhere else." And we had a connection to a guy that worked at a local long distance switch in town where we'd load up all the machines and we'd dial out. I think we were dialing 30,000 calls an hour at one point. It was pretty crazy. So this guy, the engineer at the long distance switch, was a big video game fan. And he said, hey, there's this company called Westwood Studios in Las Vegas. Why don't you go apply there? Like they have the technology. They were actually in the technology center. So if you go, I think it's like Tenaya and Smoke Ranch, where the building used to be located. Las Vegas said that is the Las Vegas Technology Center. So I went over and applied. Of course, they didn't need anybody, right? And I just kept going back. And they said, listen, the only thing we have is game tester. So if you want to be a game tester, we can hire you as that. And I was like, well, I play video games. Like, I'll do that, right? So once I got to be a game tester, it was the most mindless job on the planet. Like, play the game over and over and over and over, just trying to find the same bug. Yeah. And I tried to quit. And they said, well, hey, you have potential, so you can quit, but you'll never come back. And I was like, great, I don't ever want to come back to this. But they said, if you could just hang on, I'm gonna move you up into the company because I think you have potential. Wow. So 6 months later, they decided the best place for me was a receptionist. And so the receptionist ended up quitting. I was then the receptionist and ended up basically screening 12 lines, for their phone system in and out. And the one key thing there was I got to see everybody coming in and out of the building. So they had about maybe 90 people at the time. They grew to about 250 people, while I was there. But for 6-8 months of being the receptionist, I knew every single person in the company. So then that got me really it was like the networking opportunity that I needed to then get into tech support, then network administration, and so on and so forth. And somewhere along the line in my journey at Westwood, Electronic Arts bought Westwood Studios, so EA Sports. Are you familiar with them? Yeah. Yeah, so EA bought Westwood, and we were under EA's ownership for about 5 of the 7 years that I worked there. And eventually EA said, you know what, we're going to shut the studio down in Las Vegas. We're going to move everybody to LA or to San Francisco. And so I got a job offer in LA, and or a severance. And so I decided, you know what? I'm from Las Vegas. I didn't know anybody in California at the time. I'm just going to take the severance and figure it out. And so that was kind of the precipice to me starting ITS. Wow. And even at that point, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. But I had a friend that he wanted to be in IT. He was a real personable guy. So he went around and met with different business owners. He had a handful of clients, but he couldn't fix all the problems. So he called me up and said, hey, I know you're not at Westwood anymore. Maybe you got some free time. Could you come help me out? So we went around and we literally just fixed one thing after another. And it made people so happy. It made these business owners so happy. And it made me happy because I love helping people, especially helping people with technology or helping people in general. I thought, you know what, this is what I'm meant to do here. Wow. And that was when we started ITS.
That's the beginning of ITS. Yeah. What year was that?
That was 2003.
So I met you around 2019. So by then, I think you had grown the company. If I remember you correctly, you were like a $4-5 million company around 2019. But here we are in 2024. We've been doing business for 5 years now. ITS takes care of the technology needs of Workforce Connections, along with other organizations here in Southern Nevada, and now across other states. So I want to, if you could describe for our listeners the growth that you've experienced through, mergers and acquisitions and other things. But today you look like a complete different company than when I met you. So tell us what size your company is now, how many states you're in, and some of your international operations.
Yep. So now we're about a $45 million a year company.
Wow.
We're in 11 cities across the country, and we have about 325 team members or staff around the world. So half our team is in the U.S. and half the team is out of the U.S., majority of them being in the Philippines. Some of them are in South Africa or other countries. But that's been, that journey alone from starting ITS in 2003 to now, 21 years later, it's been insane. I mean, it was just me and that, a friend of mine at the time, and now it's 300 of us.
What an amazing story for a local kid and a local company to get here now. And of course, I get to see the business side of that. I think we're going to put your website here on the screen so those who are viewing or listening, what is the URL for your website?
Oh, it's itsasap.com.
Very easy. So we'll put it here. People who are listening or watching can go and learn more about the company, especially if they have IT needs. Tell us, in general, what kind of services does ITS provide for companies?
Yeah, so in general, our bread and butter is managed services, and now with all the cybersecurity attacks that are going on, the cyber attacks that have been happening the last few years, we're moving more into that realm. I mean, we've always protected business networks and whatnot, but now there's more specialized capabilities that we've been rolling out over the last few years.
Yeah, and we are one of the companies I think that you're helping us do that. We have been a target in the past. Nothing like, I don't think, thank God, we don't have a big world-class hacker after us, but we've had people phishing, and they've come in, they've gotten in, they've done some damage. And so since then, your company has helped us upgrade to the strongest cybersecurity package I know that the company offers. And it includes a lot of things like multi-factor authentication, but it also, what I love about this new program is every month they send us video, if you will, video content, animation, that in a very easy way, it's educating our staff about the how to counteract phishing attempts, malware, all these things that are happening have become, I think they're becoming better and better at it. And so I really like the fact that the staff, the team here at Workforce Connections is also becoming better at it. They know how to play defense, and they know how to be also, I think, proactive on not letting any doors open or any windows open. So how does ITS, cybersecurity is one example, but how do you make sure that your company is staying at the edge of that evolution of technology and making sure that your customers have access to these kinds of new tools?
Yeah, I think in general, it's really just staying on top of the industry trends. I mean, the two biggest threats, in my opinion, to businesses, or really, well, businesses for sure, but people in general, is ransomware. I mean, we've heard a lot of those attacks. I don't know if you remember maybe seeing the 60 Minutes or 60 Minutes episode a few years ago around SolarWinds.
Yeah.
Where someone got in, they infected the SolarWinds software through an update, and then SolarWinds put that out into the U.S. government among millions of their clients, right? That's really hard to just try to stop. Yeah. If a software vendor that you're using, it's like if you had Microsoft Word and somehow Microsoft Word got infected, and then you did an update and now you have the infection.
Yeah,
it's hard to stop that. So there's things like that happen where someone could get into a network and try to encrypt all the data in what's called a ransomware attack. That's probably the biggest issue that I've seen. The second biggest issue is those phishing attacks that you described. People get an email, it looks like a Dropbox login, or it looks like a DocuSign. I see a ton of those still nowadays, right? It's like, oh, I got to sign this thing, and then all of a sudden you click on the link thinking you're going to go to DocuSign. All of a sudden it pops up a password prompt. Well, go ahead and log in. Well, if I didn't know any better, if I wasn't going through the cybersecurity, the security awareness training that you're talking about, I might just put my password in there. And as soon as I do, now the attacker has my credentials. And if I didn't have multi-factor authentication, the MFA enabled, well, now this person can then log into my account, my email account, see all my email in and out, and send mail as me. Yeah. And so what happens is people will do that, right? They get tricked essentially to give up their password. Now the attacker has access to their mailbox, and they can see the emails coming in and say, oh, Jaime, it looks like you're working on a big deal that you might need to wire money, for a new building or new construction project or whatever, right? And they will circumvent that email transmission and say, oh, you know what? Send it to this bank account instead of where you would normally send it. They craft a message in a certain way. And we have had clients, fall for that numerous times. I've seen people send $700,000. Wow. Is probably the biggest one I've seen, which is insane. But it's easy to get tricked by that stuff. And so those two things, the ransomware and the phishing, are just the biggest threats that we all have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And, there's some things that you can do to protect yourself. Like I mentioned the MFA, you mentioned MFA. MFA is very, very important. So if you do lose your password, at least there's another check to say, okay, someone's logging in, it'll send you a prompt to your phone or a device. Yep. And if it's not you logging in, do not accept that prompt, right? Like you don't want to let anybody get past that. And on the ransomware side, it's really about having the right tool set and closing the doors, as you described, closing the ports or openings to the network so that someone can't get in and then start wreaking havoc internally. And
I like also, again, this little animated course set that we're going through with the cybersecurity package through ITS. They also give you other tips, like when something comes in that looks fishy, mouse over the email address, because the email address sometimes looks familiar at first glance, but when you mouse over and actually look at the descriptor, it's not at all who you think it is. And so I really like, again, this interactive course because it's giving you a new level of awareness about all the little different things. So we're really happy about it here, I think, at Workforce Connections, because we were, at one time we had an employee who got one of those emails that says, I think they posed as me and said, hey, I need you to wire me, buy 10, Apple gift cards and wire me the number. Right. Now, I know you're smiling because somebody in your company, we're not going to say his name, but you know who you are. It happens everywhere, I guess.
Everywhere.
And so I think that's why this proactive approach is really good for us. I think it's really helping our team equip ourselves to protect ourselves against that. Whether it's $500,000 or $700,000, anywhere in between there is wrong. So thanks for helping us there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's easy to get tricked by these things because we're all humans. And, if you're my boss, I'm just going to want to do what you asked me to do, right? So if you ask me to buy 10 gift cards, I'm going to go buy 10 gift cards if I don't know any better. If it says Jaime on the message, hey, what do I think, right? But if I can mouse over and see the email address is different, or, the ones that we've seen lately are text messages.
Oh, wow.
So now our staff I saw this last week, one of the guys in our company got a text message from quote unquote me asking him to go buy something, right? I don't know if it was gift cards or something else. And, we internally use Microsoft Teams. So we have the instant messaging internally. And he's like, hey, did you ask me to buy some gift cards? I'm like, absolutely not. Like that is some phishing that's now outside the email realm. Now it's through text messaging, which is pretty scary too.
Yeah, you gotta, and that's obviously something not protected through the cybersecurity package, because that's the...
You can't, that's where I think it comes back to the security awareness training.
Yeah.
You know, if we're educating ourselves, then at least we can take a moment to stop and say, hey, this seems weird, right? If this seems weird, let me just double check. Maybe let me just call Jaime on his phone and say, did you want me to buy this? Did you want me to do this? And if that was the case, hey, no problem, right? But if it wasn't, then at least we saved ourselves the time and trouble.
Yeah. So those are really, I think, important challenges, tough challenges that we're facing in this world, Tom, of technology that's taking over. I mean, again, you and I, we talked about 1987. You couldn't order a pizza on your phone, or renew your ID, or book airfare. All these things we can do now with the phone that's in our hand. Call a ride. A stranger's going to come give you a ride share. All these things, but there must also be, I know there is, because your company is growing. What would be an example of opportunities, good things that technology is providing now for our economy, for the way we work? What would you think, in your experience through IT, as you've seen as, we've talked about the challenges, but what are the opportunities that this technology has given us?
I think the biggest one right now is artificial intelligence. I mean, it's all over the news and the internet. AI is a game-changing technology that is, really, we've been watching it over the last few years, and I still think it's early on. I think it's still, version 1.0 at this point, but as that gets more and more developed, you're going to see, its ability to even do things now is insane. Yeah. And I can't even imagine, once they put more capabilities into it, what it's going to be able to do. Yeah. So AI, I think, is the biggest thing that's up and coming.
I agree. Tom, I also know, having worked with you now for 5 years, you really have a very healthy, and you spend a lot of time in your company culture. You want your employees to, unleash their full potential. You want them to be happy, have fulfillment in their jobs, and you even have events, social events. But tell us about why that's important to you, giving back to the community. It starts with your family, your workers, but why is that important? And tell us about some ways that ITS gives back.
Yeah, I'd say it's important for me because, again, I like helping people. So I feel ITS, we help people with technology. We're just people helping people with technology. That's it. But internally, we have the opportunity to help one another. So if I can help someone learn and grow and become a better version of themselves, like, I would love to do that. In the community, we have a program called ITS Cares, where we put together just backpacks and different things for different community needs. That's great as well. And I've done some talks even at Valley High School. So going through Leadership Las Vegas back in 2017, I had an opportunity to speak in front of one of the classes out there about my journey and what kids can do. And I had basically nothing when I moved out, and now have built into this company that's really successful. And it's just been through a lot of hard work and reading books and learning a lot. So if I can, offer any of that to anyone, I feel good about it, just helping someone just be better.
Yeah, you're a great story. Again, not just being, born and raised here, but as you said, you took a non-traditional route to entrepreneurship, and now, again, a company that has operations globally. That 2017 class of Leadership Las Vegas, was Mary Beth in that class?
Yep, she was.
Okay. And so Matt McNally from the Library District too, right? Those are your classmates. Okay. I remember, I can't remember what year it was, but Matt asked me to go to Valley High School too, because they have alumni, like you have to put together workshops for the new people, I think, that come. And so I've been asked to go do that as well. I think it's every year we've been sending somebody from Workforce Connections to Leadership Las Vegas, because it forms networks that last a long time, right? Professional networks.
Yeah, Matt and I still go out to the Las Vegas Bowl
every year.
He loves football more than me, but I like going. Yeah. And every year he's like, hey, we're going to go. So, we have like a group of people that still go after even 7 years.
Now it's at Allegiant, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So this next question I've been looking forward to, because we're really grateful here at Workforce Connections that you helped us on this journey almost a year and a half ago. we embarked on this journey of the entrepreneurial operating system, or EOS. We knew nothing about it except one of us, Ricardo, who's on our team, had done it at the College of Southern Nevada. And I'll ask you to give us a little bit more info, but really for us, it's been a way for here in our organization, we're only 24 people, but to speak a common language when it comes to vision, goals, metrics, and accountability to get there. Because after all, I think that's why we go to work, to accomplish things. And whether it's in a for-profit where you do sales, or an organization like us that helps people at no cost, you have to measure if you're going in the right direction, the metrics for that, and how are people all contributing. And it's been great for us, but it's not easy. Most people start with an official implementer. They have to hire a facilitator and we're funded by taxpayer dollars, and we did it the hard way, as you said. We self-implemented. But you were a huge help. Again, as somebody who's been doing it for a long, long time, you came and helped us in the moments that we were stuck somewhere, got us out of there. And a year later, I'm happy to say that we have a very healthy EOS culture here. Weekly L10s are for our multiple teams. Our quarterly sessions are productive now. And we just had our first annual just a few months ago. And so things are moving really well. Again, no part thanks to you and members of your team. Like Matt came and helped us out also recently. So tell us about, again, you haven't only helped Workforce Connections. I know you help anybody who needs help in EOS, but tell us how long you've been using EOS and why is it important to ITS? How does it help you?
Yeah, so back in, I think, 2012, a friend of mine got a book called Traction. That was the original book on EOS. And he said, hey, this book is like the business Bible, is what he called it back then. He's like, you got to read this book. So I started going through it, and I completely agree. It's maybe the most well-rounded book on how to run a business. And I wouldn't say even a business, because I've used it in nonprofits here in Las Vegas as well. When I was on the board and president of an entrepreneurs organization, I didn't know how to run a meeting. I mean, I'm a guy that moved out when he was 16, finished high school, didn't go to college, and just had to figure things out along the way. So that book really helped me figure out, how do I structure what they call a level 10 meeting, or just a weekly meeting, and then how do I structure the rest of the company or the organization. And a lot of the principles are, you can use them anywhere, right? It's like setting up your what's your vision for the organization? What is it? What's your mission? What's your core values? That could be for your family. What's the vision, mission, core values for your family versus a nonprofit versus for-profit? And then how are you keeping track of how you're going? What's the progress? What are those, they call a scorecard, people call it KPIs or OKPs. I think there's another term in there too, but like, how do I keep track of these metrics on a regular basis? It's just got so much good material. And we went through it in 2012. We loved it. At the time, we were a much, much smaller company. I think I was sub, 2 million. I think actually in 2012, I lost half my clients, if you can believe that, in 2 months. Wow. It's a bunch of bad stuff happened all at the same time, because sometimes you just, that happens, right, in business and in life. And we had to rebuild. And so that was one of the things that helped us rebuild, was just organizing the organization, the company, tracking things. And then when we came back the year later, we grew 114%, I think was the following year. It was pretty insane. Wow. But, we didn't have a lot of money. So we did a lot of self-implementation at the time. And I don't think it was for maybe a few years until we hired an implementer. Because when I was running the quarterly meetings, it's a lot of work, as you know, right? It's a lot of work to put the agenda together, run the meeting, and try to keep the meeting on track, as well as participate in the meeting. And so participating and facilitating is very, very difficult. And when we got to the point where we could afford a facilitator, we hired one, and we really haven't looked back since then. I think that's the right thing to do. But if you have to self-implement, I still would recommend it, because you're still going to get a lot of value out of it.
Yeah, I agree. We're a testament to that. But like you said, I think if resources are not an issue, if you can afford to, then definitely implementer is a way to go. And we have multiple here. Thanks to you, we met Jemison, who works with you. We've had Nina Raditich here. Hi, Nina, if you're watching. Shelly, who's helping the Vegas Chamber. Tina and her team at the LVGA just got on EOS. So it's it's something for sure that helps organizations. But I agree with you. I think If you can't afford it, still do it on your own, self-implement, because you'll get there. It'll take you a little longer. You'll feel a little bit more pain, but you'll still see the results.
Absolutely.
But if you do have the resources, by all means, an implementer can help you get off, a lot easier. So, Tom, we've talked a lot about work and what you do in the community, but give our listeners and our viewers a little bit about Tom Andrulis, not in work mode. What do you like to do when you're not working by yourself, your family, friends?
Yeah, well, I do like working a lot, so there's that. But I think when I'm not working, I love going mountain biking. There's a ton of trails around Las Vegas, some amazing mountain biking. Boot Lake Canyon is probably world-class mountain biking out in the Boulder City area. So mountain biking is a good one. I like exercising, staying in shape. So I typically will exercise every day or so. I think the third thing that I tend to do on a regular basis is just learn. I like learning. And I know you're from Peru, bilingual, right? People that are bilingual are so I don't know, it's like magical to me. It's like, how do you know this other language? It's crazy. So, that's been the thing I've been working on the last couple of years is really, how do I learn Spanish? How do I learn Tagalog, which is the language in the Philippines? Yeah. And so
where you have staff.
Yeah, where I have 160 people out there. And, they all speak English, which is great, but I think it's kind of fun to learn about other cultures and relate to them in a different way. Yep. So I think, reading books and learning things is another thing. I've been married for about 18 years now, and I have two boys. They're 17 and 16 years old. So, wow. It's fun hanging out with them. We work out, go snowboarding, skiing, hang out, pickleball's like the big thing nowadays too. So we have a lot of fun just doing different activities.
That's very cool. I have, again, from the time I've met you, there's been many calls we've been on where you've been exercising. I think you have your earbuds on and you're walking, breathing heavily. And so I know that's the case. When you go to Boulder City to do your biking, do you stop at Boulder City for food? Do you spend any time there eating after exercising?
Sometimes. My favorite place in Boulder City is, I think it's called Fox Barbecue. Yeah. Man, Fox Barbecue is amazing. And I'll usually go by A&W Root Beer too, because that place was there when I was growing up. I used to love going to A&W when I was like 5 or 6 years old. So I'll still stop in there. I don't think that place has changed in, 40 years or something, right?
I'm glad you say that because that's why I was asking. Boulder City is such a unique place. And just yesterday I was talking to him. One of my 8 bosses, our agency is governed by 8 elected officials, one from each of the counties that we serve, Clark, Lincoln, Esmeralda, Nye, a commissioner from each county, and then also 4 members of the city councils of Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Henderson, and Boulder City. And for Boulder City, we have City Councilman Matt Fox, who owns Fox Barbecue.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So we as a staff have had him cater for our Christmas events, but I've been there many times again. So I kind of wanted to know if you stopped. And I'm going to tell him that now. Hey,
love that place.
Yeah, Tom stops at your place. So, the last thing you said, which takes me to my next question, has to do with you again. We usually ask our guests to we have young people listening and they say, well, man, I want to own one day a $45 million a year company. I want to have the ability to do what I love, snowboard, pickle, travel with my family, because I know you love travel and good eating. But there's many ways to get there. And again, I love to highlight the fact that you didn't take the traditional route. Like you didn't go to necessarily go earn a bachelor's and a master's in business school in some kind of which is, again, it's a valid route. My daughter had to do that because she wanted to be a doctor in physical therapy. So she had to go that route. An architect has to go that route, an attorney, a doctor, all these different things. But you became a very successful business owner in a very untraditional route. But you, again, now that I know you, you're huge in skill acquisition. You just have acquired that skill in an alternative way, and reading is a big part of it. So my question would be, based on your experience in your life, what advice would you, Tom, give a young person who dreams about being an entrepreneur one day, but they're young. They're like you were at that time, 16, 18, and I know there's multiple ways to get there, but what advice would you give them?
So the same thing I told my kids a long time ago. I said, hey, you can do whatever you want, but this is my opinion. You develop a skill. Like develop some kind of skill that you can help another person with that they will in turn pay you to do. If you could do that, I mean, the sky's the limit, really. It's just a matter of like, how much can you scale it out? How big do you want to go? But, you could be an attorney, right? Your skill could be law, or you could be a surgeon and, doing surgeries, or you could be an IT guy and do this. But I think if you get a skill, that's the biggest thing. Continuously learning is another thing. I may sound like I read a lot of books, and I have read hundreds and hundreds of self-help and business books. But I didn't really start reading books until I was 25. When I first started ITS and I was driving around the city, just meeting with clients and fixing problems, I'd throw in CDs at the time, right? I'd throw CDs in my car, and I was listening to a lot of stuff like the, Rich Dad, Poor Dad series and, things like that. And that kind of got me my juices flowing, and it got me sort of addicted to learning the new information and understanding what is out there. And as I did more of that, I think another thing I'd make a point to mention too is really being involved with peer groups. And that's been a huge impact in my life and my career, interacting with people that maybe they're in my industry, which I'm in a lot of peer groups, industry specific, but I'm also in peer groups like Entrepreneurs Las Vegas, where it's just different industries. So, in our chapter, there's attorneys, there's doctors, there's real estate people. And being able to learn from other people's experiences is huge, huge. You could save so much time, so many mistakes, because, it would take me, I don't know how many lifetimes to figure out what I know now, learning from what I learned from other people. Right. So, interacting with as many people as possible, giving back and sharing experience, not just telling people what to do and advice, but really just like, hey, this is what happened to me, take it or leave it. And then learning on your own as much as you can, I think are three important things to do.
I think that's great advice, Tom. I'm really grateful that we got to sit down. I know we've been talking about it for a while, having you here. I love your story. Again, we really enjoy doing business with you. This is the time where I'm going to throw the mic back to you one more time to tell us the website, but also maybe a phone number, or how do people who want to, learn more about the value that ITS can bring to their company through managed services, how do they reach you? And then is there any ITS news that we need to know about right now, the events coming up, happenings? This is your last pitch at the mic.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself a pitch man, but our website, itsasap.com, that website, we've been building a content library over the last 3 years or so. So if you go to itsasap.com, at the very top, it'll have Learning Center as a link. If you go in the Learning Center, there's literally hundreds of articles and hundreds of videos on all kinds of topics. And so we just produce all that stuff for free just to help people. And, as far as events coming up, we're doing a cybersecurity roadshow event here the next couple months. I think we're still trying to nail down whether it's going to be April or May, so, there's that's going to be, I don't know which day exactly at the moment, but that'll get posted on the website. Yep. We do monthly webinars as well, a lot of cyber awareness, cyber training, webinars. So if you're interested in cybersecurity or you want to learn more, how do I protect myself, protect my business, I would go to the website, itsasap.com, check out the webinars, and you can always give us a call. Our local number is 702-869-3636.
Great.
We'd love to hear from you. But yeah, anything we can do to help people out, we're there for it.
That sounds good. We're going to put all that information here on the screen for our viewers. But again, those listening can also rewind, play back those the URL and the phone number. Will that event have a cost to it, Tom, the cybersecurity event?
Nope, it's completely free. So we've done them over the last few years, completely free. It's really just get people out to mingle. We usually bring in a big cybersecurity vendor of ours. They'll do a live hacking session, typically, and they'll show you, hey, you might have a machine that you think is perfectly fine. Click on the wrong website, all of a sudden it's now infected, you don't know, and now someone's in the network and they can go wherever they want. It's pretty scary stuff, but once you're aware, and you can help yourself not be in that predicament.
That's great. Is this, did you have an event similar to this in San Francisco a while back?
Yeah. So we've done it in San Francisco, Detroit, Las Vegas, Phoenix is coming up. I think we'll probably do one in Seattle over the next, maybe the end of the year, so maybe Reno as well. Okay.
Well, one thing I'd like you to do is, of course, our viewers, our listeners will now know, they know your website, so they can keep track of it there, of your announcements. But once you have all the information firmed up, also share it with us at Workforce Connections, because we would like our industry sector partnership, Southern Nevada's industry sector partnership for information and communications technologies. I know ITS has participated. You've sent your staff there a few times. We'd like to also circulate it through there. And any other of our small businesses that we help that, might benefit from that information. So can we get your commitment to make sure we get that info? We'll put it on our website as well.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. Well, again, thanks for making the time to be here. I know you're a busy guy. You travel a lot. And I guess the next thing we'll do is you and I have to find a time to go have lunch at the Peruvian restaurant, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me, Jaime. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. That's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope to see you at a future one. Until then, stay safe. Okay, Tom, thanks for staying over for our bonus section called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
Can't wait.
I'm going to give you the first segment. Is called Your Favorites. I'm going to name a category. You're going to give me your favorite one in that category. Let's start with food. What's your favorite food?
What's my favorite food? Well, with your help, I love Peruvian food. That is one of my favorites. I'd say another one's barbecue. Love barbecue.
We talked about Fox Barbecue
Fox
in Boulder
barbecue.
City.
Yeah, Roll and Smoke is another one here in Vegas that I love a lot as well. But yeah, I'd say barbecue or maybe Peruvian ceviche.
All right. Very good. What's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie. Let's see. What's the so the movie I've watched numerous times and I've had my kids watch because I think it's just such a mind-blowing movie or story is Inception.
Oh, wow.
Inception is one of the coolest, craziest movies that I've seen. It's awesome.
That's a good one. Favorite book?
Favorite book. Well, I have a whole list of favorite books. And it depends on what genre, or not genre, but it depends on what subject.
You can give us a few.
Yeah, I think one of my favorites is The Untethered Soul. So Untethered Soul, it's more of like a spiritual book and figuring out life in general. I love that book. It's helped me a lot in my life. One that's helped with friends and also in business is called The Coaching Habit. Love The Coaching Habit. It's, a kind of a short read, but it really helps kind of engage with people and help coach them to, overcome challenges that they're having. So I love that book. What's another one? I think business wise, like EOS, we mentioned on the podcast, right? EOS Traction. Yeah. Traction is a fantastic book. Love that as well. What else? On the financial side, I think, like when I was growing up, I never really got any financial training and didn't know how to handle my finances. And, I came across a book called Total Money Makeover, Dave Ramsey. And, Dave Ramsey's kind of a out there personality, but I think the material he has in that book for sure has helped me, but I've given that book to numerous people and it's helped them turn around their financial lives. So it's another good one.
Very cool. Let's take you back to Valley High School. What was your favorite subject in school?
What's my favorite subject in Valley High School? I'm more of a math and science guy. And I think maybe when I was at Valley, when I was really getting into computers, the programming class was probably my favorite. It was just this untapped area to kind of create whatever you want. It's like a blank canvas. It's, programming is like, creating art, but just in the computer rather than, on a canvas.
So back then you were doing line by line code already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. What's your favorite holiday?
What's my favorite holiday? Let's see. I'd probably say 4th of July. I love 4th of July. It's a great
barbecue.
Holiday. Yeah, you got barbecue, you got fireworks, it's warm, you get people together.
Nice.
It's such a great holiday. Yeah.
What about your favorite sports team?
Favorite sports team. The funny thing is I love playing sports, but I'm not really into a lot of sports teams. Oh. So I'd say at this point, it's probably the Chiefs. My family's really big in the Chiefs.
Lucky you Super Bowl.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to go to the Super Bowl too, and it was probably like the best Super Bowl you could possibly go to for us, right?
Yeah.
Being here in Las Vegas, first Super Bowl
with your team
and the Chiefs, and they win in overtime. It was insane.
That's great. You made it through the first segment called Your Favorites. The second one is called Tough Choices. Are you ready?
Okay.
Vacation or staycation?
Oof. I like vacation. I love seeing new places. I love staycations because it does feel like a vacation. I did one recently at Fountain Blue. Fountain Blue is unbelievable. It's a really great place. But, just traveling the world. And we talked a little bit about going to Philippines last year. We're going to go again this year. I'm going to Canada up in Whistler here in a few weeks, and that's going to be a great trip. And then I think Cancun later this year as well.
Yeah, I know you love to travel with your family and for business. So if you're going to your vacation spot, would you rather drive there or fly there?
I'll fly there.
And once you get there, would you rather stay in a hotel or an Airbnb?
I think if I'm with my family, it's probably hotel, because they like to go downstairs and get breakfast and
amenities.
Yeah, they love the amenities. And I mean, resorts are awesome, right? Yeah. Like when you got everything in the same place. I think when I'm traveling for business, it's more Airbnb, especially if we're going to go with a big group of people. Then we have time to spend together, and we tend to eat out anyways, so it's not like we're sitting there making breakfast every day. But I guess it depends on the situation.
That's good. Would you rather cook at home or eat at a restaurant?
Eat at a restaurant.
Yeah. Would you rather owe money or owe a favor?
Ooh, owe money or owe a favor? I'd rather owe a favor. I like helping people, so I don't like owing money. I'm a big pay everything off, not have a lot of debt kind of person.
Yep.
And I'd rather owe favors than money.
That's good. This one's a tough one. Justice or grace?
Justice or grace? I think grace.
Actions or words?
Actions for sure.
Yep, very good. So you've made it through the second segment. The last one is called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you about 90% of the sentence. You're going to finish it for me. Are you ready? If Tom could live anywhere, it would be
San Diego.
The best part of living in Nevada is
the weather.
Tom's favorite thing about his job at ITS is
helping people.
If Tom could travel back in time, he would travel to
travel back in time. I think the dinosaur era.
Wow. Run around with a dinosaur.
I'd love to see it. I want to see these things live in person.
That's good. 3 words that describe Tom are
patient, caring, driven.
Couldn't agree more. Well, Tom, doing the WC podcast here today with us was
amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for staying over and doing the bonus segment.
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you.